XOPA, campeones y compa. Cruz here, once again, with another weekly story time with Cruz. Have you ever taken a trip that was the absolute worst possible thing you could have ever imagined? Well, today's story is about a trip that takes place just on the tip of the state of Illinois, in where I was invited by a promotion inside of Illinois to come out and wrestle. So, in the midst of this, I had made arrangements to meet up with my best friend at the time, who I had not seen in a couple of years. We were to meet up at this wrestling promotion in Illinois. We would meet halfway. He would drive south, I would drive north. Upon my arrival into the state, just before I got there, I had to cut across Oklahoma. Along driving through Oklahoma, there were several toll roads. You have to pay a toll to cross along the state. I paid my toll, crossed the first one, paid the second one. Upon the arrival of the final toll, I get to the toll, and I paid my $3, I believe at the time. It was $3. I paid my $3. They open the bar. I come up. He's driving. Just as I'm exiting to get on the interstate, I see red and blue lights flashing just behind me in my rearview mirror. I see these red and blue lights flashing, and I pull over. And I notice it's a state trooper. His car is labeled with the state of Oklahoma. Stickers all over it. And where I pull over thinking, this is odd, I'm not even 10 feet out of the toll. What did I do? So, I pull over, roll down my window, I ask the officer what is going on. He looks at me, and he tells me I have a crack along the front of my windshield. I tell him, yes, it has been that way for a while, and I've never had any issue with it. My sticker is still valid. He looks at me and he says, well, in the state of Oklahoma, it is illegal to have a crack along your windshield. This is news to me because I've never, in all my years of passing through Oklahoma, ever been pulled over. And several times did I have a crack across my windshield. It is hard to have a vehicle traveling without any kind of cracks or scratches on the brake. You get constantly getting hit by the rocks and things of that matter along the way. So, my scratched up, cracked vehicle was reason enough for this officer to pull me over. He pulled me over. He asked me to step out of the vehicle at this point. I had offered him my license. I had given him my information, my license, my insurance. And he asked me to step outside of the vehicle. So I stepped outside of the vehicle, and he asked me to wait inside of his. At this point, I'm still very, very confused. I had minimum sleep. I had been about 2 hours of sleep at this point. I was sipping coffee for the last 45 minutes. Sipping coffee. So my body was falling asleep. My mind was awake. I'm having the twitches, caffeine twitches. He asked me to stand by his car, then he asked me to wait inside of his car. I'm waiting inside this state trooper car while he's looking inside my vehicle. I'm confused as to why he's looking, but I'm not questioning him. I notice he starts opening the back doors. Then he opens the trunk. Then he's opening my bag, which has my gear and belongings. He's looking through, throwing socks, throwing underwear, across the back seat. He slams the trunk, and then he begins looking under the tires, under the fender, around the gas tank, underneath the car. He's looking inside the rims. He cannot find anything. He comes back to the car, and he sits down beside me, and he asks me, what are your plans for this weekend? And I tell him I'm going to a wrestling show. Hence the wrestling gear that was in the bag that he saw, the boots, the tape, all the things for a wrestling show. It makes sense to him, but he still questions me. What are your plans for this weekend? And I tell him, once again, I'm going to wrestle, meet up with some friends, drive across the state, hit a few places. He tells me, are you going to be partaking in any illegal activity? I tell him, no, I do not carry any drugs or anything with me. I do not drive with alcohol open while I'm driving. I will hit up at some bars, meet some friends, take some pictures, but that is the extent of the fun I'm going to have. he begins to stare me up and down. He begins to question me. You don't look like a pro wrestler. And I ask him, what does a pro wrestler look like? He says, well, on your license, it says you weigh 160 pounds. And I tell him, I weighed that when I first received my license. I was 18 at the time, and I have grown since then. And he says, well, most college wrestlers are very, very light and lean. You're very bulky and heavy. And so I clarified that I was a pro wrestler, not a collegiate wrestler. That was a conversation in itself. Spent about 35 minutes just explaining him what it was I did. He was not a fan of pro wrestling. He was not familiar with the concept, the ropes, the ring posts, lights, entrances, promos, none of that. So I had to explain to him the gist of everything. Then he becomes a fan. He's asking me how we do this, how we do that. So in effort to protect the wrestling business, I am not giving him all of these secrets, but I am just kind of dismissing and saying, you have to train, you have to train, you have to train, you have to learn, you have to train, you have to learn, you have to train. After much questioning, I spent about an hour and 45 minutes in total, from being waited outside to sitting in his car to being put back in my car to him giving me a weapon to carry. Believe this. This is a true tale. He gave me what looked like a baton. It was a solid rod. Black. Black like this. It's a black rod. About 18 inches across. And he tells me, I noticed you had a butterfly knife in your car. That is illegal. I'm keeping this. He put it in his pocket. I thought I was going to jail for the butterfly knife. He kept it. He gave me a bar. So I look at this black bar and I ask him, well, I can hit people with it or wave it around maybe to scare. He begins to show me how I can use this baton to attack if I'm pumping gas. So he's there teaching me how to use this baton as a weapon. He grabs my arm, almost in a wrestling hold, puts my arm, tells me I can club the back of a person's arm, and it will subdue them. They will not be able to use that arm. Club them with that metal right on the back, just above the elbow, hit them, their arm will be useless. They will become useless in attacking me. So I take him, he interrogated me, but he gave me a weapon. I have this black bar to this day in the back of my car. That was it. I enter the state of Missouri, cut through as fast as I can to get to the venue. I arrive at my destination. I'm at the tip of Illinois. I arrive at the venue. Pull up. And I see my best friend in his car approaching. So he pulls up, parks beside me. I see my best friend arrive. I get out of my car excited. He gets out of his car excited. We go, we hug, shake hands, take some pictures. We start laughing about some things along the road. I tell him about my experience with the highway patrol officer. And then we enter the venue. Long enter the venue, we go inside. We go and we shake hands with everyone we had met before, some new faces. We have some catching up with old friends. As we begin to put together the show and prepare and get ready and get dressed, I receive a text message on my phone. I receive a text message from a number I do not recognize. I look at my phone and this person is asking me what time the show starts. Not knowing who this person is, I reply back, giving them the location, and I give them the time in which the show will start. I don't think twice about it. I send this text message in reply. That was it. Just as my match is about to begin, I'm getting ready and I hear my music start to play. So I make my entrance. As I'm walking around the ring, I'm walking around and I'm looking at the crowd. And I see a very familiar face sticking out of the crowd. Turns out, this person who had texted me was an old friend. A person who I had met when I lived in the state of Missouri. So, I go inside the ring. I finish my entrance. The bell rings. Match takes place. Wrestle this person for about 15 or 20 minutes. Match is over. I go to the back. I go to my phone and ask this person, hey, I did not know this was you texting me. Did not recognize this phone number. And I say, thank you for coming out. Well, this person I did not know was in an intoxicated state. This person happened to be at a couple of bars in St. Louis area with some friends. They randomly saw through social media that I was on a poster for a show coming up, and it happened to be that same night. Well, this person drove across St. Louis into the state of Illinois, see the wrestling show, catch up. She was completely drunk beyond any kind of conversation that I could have had. I learned all of this as I left outside to go tear down the ring. She was still sitting there. We talked. She had explained to me how she had got there. Hence the bar stories, the visiting and hanging out with friends in St. Louis. She drove across to come see a wrestling show. This person is completely just unable to talk without laughing drunk. So I look around. I say, well, this is pretty much the end of the show. We're breaking on the ring. My friend and I are going to drive across back to his state, in which we will have a couple of days, take another road trip, and then I will part ways back to where my home is. This person says that they do not have a ride back to St. Louis. Well, I say, well, how did you get to St. Louis? She explains that she was taken up there with a friend. Well, her friend was going to stay in St. Louis at a hotel. She found a ride from a stranger who took her to this venue to come see a wrestling show. And I asked her, well, where's the person that brought you, this person? She explains to me that it was just this random guy dropped her off and was nowhere to be found. That she didn't know who it was to begin with. So a random stranger dropped her off at the show. I put together, I did not understand how a person would just randomly get dropped off anywhere. But this person was very, very drunk. So I'm now there with a drunk friend of mine. I have my best friend, who I had made all these plans with to have a great weekend. So I asked him, how about we go to St. Louis, we drop this person off, and then we can go about and visit a couple of bars and we will just hang out in St. Louis. Well, he says that's fine. She hops in my car, we convoy out, he's following me. This person begins to be very belligerent and very obnoxious in their drunk state. She's poking buttons in the car, messing with the radio, singing, rolling the windows down, screaming, all of that. Just as you would imagine, a party person. I make a comment for this person to have a sip of some Gatorade that I had there in the car. I said, I have not drank this Gatorade, you can have it. I said, you can probably sober up a little bit. Well, she takes offense to me saying, you need to sober up. So, I quickly apologize for the offense and say, I meant nothing by it. You can listen to music all you want. I was just offering you a Gatorade. If you don't want it, I'll drink it. So I crack open the Gatorade and I take a big drink. Well, some people, when they get drunk, are very, very aggressive, very ill-natured. They only want to be obscene and aggressive and very ornery. I am not one of those people. I tend to have a very good time. I tend to just relax and enjoy the flow of things. This person was very, very upset by what I had said. So I offered the Gatorade. I quickly retracted the Gatorade offer, drank the Gatorade for myself because I was completely exhausted and dehydrated from my wrestling bout. She begins to be very, very aggressive for me drinking the entire Gatorade in one drink. So that was an issue. I drank a whole Gatorade, and it was supposed to be her Gatorade, as she put it. So I apologized. I said, I can pull over and we'll get a Gatorade. And she says, well, I don't want a Gatorade. And she says, I want a Red Bull. So I said, well, I'll get a Red Bull. We go, and we're about to pull over to this gas station. Well, this person tells me they forgot their purse at the venue. I am already about an hour from the venue. We had left about an hour prior to that. So I look at her and I say, "Are you sure you didn't leave it in the venue? Are you sure you didn't bring a purse at all?" She says, "I brought my purse. I left it there in the bleachers." So, very exhausted. At this point, I'm trying to fight turning all the way back because it's been an hour and she's drunk. I'm tired. We can stop. I can have one of my friends from the wrestling promotion just meet me somewhere at time or mail me back the purse. This person was very drunk anyway. She would not have realized it and I would have given her money. Well, this was a no-go. I offered to give her some cash. I bought her Red Bull at the gas station. She was very, very pissed that I would not turn back. I explained to her that we would get our hands on the purse the very next day. I was just very exhausted. And to get back from St. Louis into Illinois was going to be a huge, huge obstacle to reroute and redirect. Well, as my luck would have it, she completely loses it once we get back in from the gas station, in which she took a Red Bull. She drank a Red Bull. She was ready to go back to the venue. I started the car and I approach and I leave opposite direction, continuing into St. Louis. She grabs a Red Bull can, she throws it across the dashboard, and she says, "Motherfucker, I thought you were going to take me back to get my purse." So then I'm offended because she splashed Red Bull. It's all over. My windshield is completely sticky from this Red Bull. And she's screaming about this purse, which I know is fine because my friends would not rummage through a purse of anyone. They have a huge respect for people's belongings, and I'm pretty much family with these people in this promotion. So she makes a big deal. She throws a Red Bull. She starts pushing me. Turn around. And I'm telling her, I'm very exhausted. I just took my pain medicine. I'm going to drop you off. I will give you $100 in cash. I will go back to Illinois tomorrow morning, pick up your purse, and I will bring it back wherever you are. This is not good enough. So we get on the interstate, and she tries to grab the wheel, and she wants me to turn the car around. And we're in an interstate. I'm in the middle lane of a 4-lane interstate. She turns, I grab the wheel. I pull it back and I'm holding the wheel. And she's not very strong, but she's still jerking on the wheel. I'm holding the wheel, I'm telling her to settle down because we are going to wreck into someone. So at this point, I grab the Red Bull can, I roll down my window, I throw the Red Bull can out the window because it is at my feet under the pedals. I roll my window back up and she began screaming that she wants her purse. She begins to pick up her legs. She reclines her seat back. She puts her feet on the dashboard and starts kicking the dashboard. So at this point I'm yelling, "Stop, please, do not kick my dashboard. The airbag is going to deploy. It's going to smash you in the face." She kicks the dashboard. Then upon realizing what I have just said, she starts kicking the windshield. So she kicks the windshield. And I just start to see cracks. She cracks the windshield. It was already cracked. I had already been pulled over. I could already imagine what it was going to be like driving back through Oklahoma. They were going to arrest me for having spiderweb looking windshields. Well, to end all this, she's cracked my windshield. I jerk the wheel. First exit I see, I jerk the wheel, jump across 2 lanes, take the exit out, we roll. I completely pass a red light. Got flashed by the photo taking light. Got flashed, pulled into a Jack-in-the-Box parking lot. This person is screaming. Well, I don't know how my best friend who was following me was able to keep up in all the craziness. We were inside the Jack-in-the-Box. My best friend pulls up behind us. My best friend pulls up behind us at this Jack-in-the-Box. She has taken off out of the car, and this female friend of mine who was drunk begins running laps, screaming that she wants her purse. She's running laps around the Jack-in-the-Box. I am just looking, completely disgusted and terrified, very lost in how to control this person. She's running laps around the Jack in the Box. Jack in the Box is open, so there are people still coming in to the drive-thru, ordering while this person is running around their car. So my best friend looks at me and asks me, "What did you say to her?" So I explained to him what the issue was and why she's screaming. She wants her purse. She wants me to turn back around. I have already offered her $100 in cash. We would go back the next morning, pick up the person. I would meet her wherever she wanted and give her her purse. So she's running. At this point, there were 2 policemen who were eating inside of this Jack in the Box. They walk out, only to find this person who is completely drunk run in front of them. I am with my best friend in front of my car, talking about this. They stop her from running. She is crying, and she explains to them the situation. We see her pointing over at us, talking to them. So she's pointing at us, and the 2 officers approach us, and they look at me, and they look at my best friend, and they ask, "Is she with you?" She's running around screaming, "Is she with you?" And my best friend and I were sober. So, what saving grace happened for us on this night in particular was, we were both sober. She was drunk. So we explained to the officer very quickly that she was drunk. She was a friend of ours. She had gone to a wrestling venue and had a couple of drinks, and we had brought her to the Jack in the Box to sober up. So the officers ordered her to go inside the Jack in the Box and sober up. And she pulls out all this wad of cash that I just given her. She goes and she orders her a meal. She sits down. And the officers are outside, and they go into their cop cars. And they drive off once they see us inside. So we were sitting there, he and I, and we decided we have to order, because we're starving at this point. So we order a meal, sit there at Jack in the Box, and she's there eating. And she doesn't want to sit near us, and we don't want to sit near her. She's in the corner, and she's just staring off into the distance, there at the Jack in the Box. We had to wait about an hour for her to completely finish and be sobered up, in which we basically asked her, "Where can we take you to leave you and get you back to somebody that you came with?" She explains to us that she just wants to go back to her house. And so we agreed to take her 2 hours further down, all the way into a little town where she's from, in Missouri. We agreed to drive her these 2 hours all the way back to her house. We end up driving her 2 hours after our Jack in the Box meal, off at her house. We drop her off. She goes inside. My best friend looks at me. We're exhausted. We don't want to stay anywhere near that town. We don't want to stay in St. Louis. We just want to get back on the road, back to where we're at. We end up going and pulling over on the way out of this little town and sleeping at a Sefco station. Outside, no lie, it felt about 15 degrees outside. We slept both in my car. I'm laying in the front seat, he's laying in the back seat. And I turn around and I look in the back seat, and he's just glaring at me, blaming this horrible experience all on me. And I look at him and I apologize. I said, "I'm sorry. I don't know how this happened." Well, it was a story for the books. It was a story that happened along the road of this wild and crazy pro wrestling journey, in which we all tend to have. So if you are thinking of entering the wrestling business, keep in mind, these things just happen, and they happen to everyone. So, cachucha, stay classy.